Good to be with you. I'm Tony DeCopo. The breaking news right now. Catastrophic flash flooding in Texas as cities brace for more than 20 inches of rain. Disaster declarations across 59 counties tonight, and the high water rescues and impassable roads. And that brutal heat wave intensifying for more than 130 million people tonight. Rob Marciano tracking it all. Also developing the major policy shift tonight after those deadly ICE shootings, 2 in the last week alone, what federal immigration officers are now being told not to do. And what really happened in Maine. The federal government story keeps changing. The parasitic illness, no one wants this, but thousands of people in more than 30 states are sick. No food or restaurant has been confirmed as a source. What Taco Bell is saying tonight and whether you should stop eating salad. The life-changing news, retired Captain Chesley Sullenberger, better known as Sully, is sharing tonight. And the World Cup's Final Four featuring a clash between longtime rivals Spain and France. What happens next?
Oh, boy.
And the good stuff, a very special wedding dress edition you won't want to miss.
From CBS News headquarters in New York, this is the CBS Evening News with Tony DeCopo.
And good evening. We begin tonight in Texas. Another flood emergency there after torrential rains. 59 counties at this hour under disaster declarations, and the reports coming in tonight of swift water rescues. You can understand why. The forecast called for more than 20 inches of rain in some spots. And among the hardest hit areas is Texas Hill Country between Austin and San Antonio. That, of course, where floods last year killed at least 139 people, including more than 20 children at Camp Mystic. And it's also where we find our Jason Allen this evening. Jason, they must be thinking not again. Good evening to you.
They're absolutely thinking that, Tony. Good evening. The rain has stopped here, at least for the moment, so that's a good thing. When the heaviest storms were over this part of town earlier today, all of this was underwater, and it is still cutting off roads tonight and surrounding homes.
A flash flood emergency in central Texas tonight as heavy storms caused chaos across the region, dumping more than a foot of rain. Homes in some areas were completely surrounded and roads left impassable, with as much as 4 feet of water rushing across them and drivers stuck in the floodwaters. In Uvalde County, the Texas Department of Public Safety was forced to rescue several stranded drivers this morning. While in nearby D'Annis, at least 10 inches of rain left much of the historic town underwater. It's all part of a system meteorologists fear could drop up to 20 inches of rain over the next few days. These sudden high-risk flooding events are infrequent in Texas, just 4% of days per year on average, but they account for more than 80% of all flood-related damage and 36% of flood-related deaths. This storm system comes just 1 year after more than a foot of rain caused catastrophic flooding across Texas Hill Country, killing more than 130 people, including 28 at Camp Mystic. In that flood, the Guadalupe River rose roughly 30 feet in just 45 minutes. Officials today are concerned conditions on rivers across the region could change quickly.
At one point today, emergency management said every road on this side of town, D'Annis, where we are right now, had standing water on it. The concern is rain could redevelop overnight, and that could happen with all of this water, Tony, still here on the ground.
Yeah, it's very wet. Jason, thank you. More now on the floods and the heat wave smothering more than 130 million people. Meteorologist Rob Marciano tracking it all. As always, Rob, good evening.
Hey, Tony. Yeah, we do think the rain will redevelop, if not tonight, during the day tomorrow. The pattern that's causing all this rain, it really isn't going to change for a couple of days. So let's get to it. Flood watch is in effect through Thursday. You see the radar the past few hours has wound down somewhat, but it will re-go as we look towards the next couple of days. So the Weather Prediction Center has issued the highest level of flood risk for today. Now they've extended it through tomorrow night from west of San Antonio to the Rio Grande, with another 6 to 10 inches of rainfall potentially coming on top of what they've already received. So this is not a good situation. Next 48 hours will be dicey. North of this, the pattern is such that we've got the heat that's building, and we've got excessive extreme heat warnings from Southern California across the northern tier. Minneapolis, you're in it for another couple of days, and now it's into the northeast as well, where temperatures will feel like up and over 100 degrees, not just tomorrow, but into Thursday as well with that humidity. Nearly 2/3 of the country, Tony, over the next couple of days, will see temperatures over 90 degrees. Tony?
All right, Rob, thank you very much. We turn now to a major shift in tactics after federal agents killed 2 men in less than a week. U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement telling officers today to stop pulling over vehicles in most cases. That as the Department of Homeland Security seems to change its story on what happened in Maine. Here's Lilia Luciano in Biddeford.
A home surveillance camera captured the sound of 5 gunshots at 7:17 a.m. Monday morning in Biddeford, Maine. This photo shows multiple bullet holes through the windshield of the car driven by Juan Sebastian Duran Guerrero. Seconds later, another surveillance video at 7:18 a.m. shows the white sedan slowing down. Officers approach the car on both sides as it begins to turn in circles for about a minute. More than a minute later, an agent in a white SUV pins Guerrero's car. He's then pulled into the pavement.
I heard him say, I tried to stop.
Daniel Boucher heard the gunshots and saw the aftermath.
When you say you'll never forget,
It's something that's horrific. You never forget that. You never forget the attitude of the ICE officers, too. And the ICE officer that shot him was in shock.
This doorbell video shows first responders treating Guerrero, but the 25-year-old father who worked as a delivery driver died at the scene. The Department of Homeland Security maintains when ICE agents approached him, he got in his car and tried to drive away. And that while fearing for public safety, an ICE officer discharged his weapon. But law enforcement sources tell CBS News Guerrero was not the target of ICE's surveillance. Today, another ICE-related death, this time in Florida, after authorities say a man running from ICE agents was struck and killed by a truck. It's the 3rd death involving ICE in a week. Border Czar Tom Homan said the decision to halt vehicle stops is not a policy change.
They believe it's a necessary short-term pause just to look at it and make sure everything's good.
And as you can probably hear from the honking, protests continued here today as we learn more about the victim. His father, Guerrero's father, spoke with our partners in Colombia, saying that his son was a loving, hardworking man who left his country to build a better future for his 3-year-old daughter, his wife, and that he was authorized to work in this country. Tony?
Lilia, thank you very much. Let's go for a little more context here. During President Trump's second term, at least 11 people have been shot and killed by federal immigration officers, and many others have been caught up in high-profile, very public incidents. CBS News immigration correspondent Camila Montoya Galvez has been looking into why there seem to be so many of these cases, even considering the president's policies. He joins us now from Houston. Camila, good evening. What have you learned?
Hi, Tony. Good evening. ICE sources tell us that they are deeply concerned that these fatal shootings across the country could continue to increase. They are under tremendous political pressure from the White House and people like Stephen Miller, one of the president's top advisors, to expand immigration enforcement and to record up to 2,000 daily arrests. Historically, under Republican and Democratic administrations, most ICE arrests have occurred in local jails, state and federal prisons, away from the public's view, Tony. But to enforce President Trump's dramatic crackdown on illegal immigration, which is not just targeting criminal, egregious offenders, more ICE agents are being placed on the streets of American towns and cities to make arrests in broad daylight, in public. That is a strategy, Tony, that is more likely to create the dangerous and often tragic situations we have seen here in Houston and also in Maine.
So, Camila, let's talk about tactics as they pursue these arrests. In some cases, they are wearing masks, they are driving unidentified vehicles, they're not using body cameras. How does that compare to the standards of traditional law enforcement?
Well, the Department of Homeland Security policy stipulates, Tony, that agents can only use deadly and fatal force when they believe somebody is posing a danger to the officers or to others in the public. In the case of people who are fleeing an operation, like was the case allegedly in that incident in Maine, officers are not supposed to use any deadly force unless they detect that there's a significant threat to life. They cannot use deadly force simply to stop somebody from escaping and fleeing, Tony. And we have to remember that here in Houston, after that fatal shooting, the local district attorney, Harris County District Attorney Sean Thierry, told us that he's investigating this case and that he's never seen anything like this in his 20 years in law enforcement.
It appears from everything we've seen that either these agents are completely untrained or intentionally putting themselves in situations where they can justify firing into cars.
DHS also tells us that ICE in June added additional training for new officers, including on crowd control and high-risk vehicle stops. Tony?
Camilo, thank you very much. To other news now, another night of heavy U.S. airstrikes in Iran, the fourth in a row aimed at preventing the regime's new attacks on oil and cargo ships. President Trump, meanwhile, after floating the idea of the U.S. as guardian of ships in the Strait of Hormuz, taking a 20% fee in the process, he's backed off that idea. Our Ed O'Keefe joins us now on a busy day in Washington. Ed, good evening. Why the reversal?
Well, Tony, the president said he's reversing his decision because he'd heard from the leaders of Saudi Arabia, Qatar, and other Gulf nations concerned about possible tolls, who vowed instead to invest billions of dollars more in the United States. The president said he supported that idea, but there's no word yet about how much or in what exactly those countries would be investing. We should point out it is against international law to charge tolls on international waterways like the Strait of Hormuz. Tony?
You know, Ed, the other big story in Washington today, for the first time since 2019, justices of the U.S. Supreme Court testified before Congress. We had Elena Kagan and Amy Coney Barrett. They warned of a rise in security threats against justices. Listen.
Roughly 6 weeks ago, I was the victim of a swatting incident. At that point, my teenage son, one of my teenage sons, opened the door to go out with friends and saw in our street, it was full of police cars, who had responded to a false report of gunshots and raised voices in my home.
So, Ed, what are they asking for here, and what's the bigger context? It's not just the court facing potential violence.
That's right, Tony. They're seeking $14.6 million more to give each of the 9 justices 6 security agents to provide them and their families with 24/7 protection. And it's all because of increased threats against the High Court. Justice Kagan said Supreme Court police expect a 38% increase in threats this year against the justices after a 25% spike last year. Threats have been ticking up, especially since the decision to reverse Roe versus Wade leaked back in 2022 and caused a political uproar. It is rare for justices to testify publicly to Congress, but their request for more security funding comes amid increased threats against federal judges and the murder of some judges' family members, as lawmakers continue facing threats of their own, and of course amid the assassination attempts on President Trump and other shootings outside here at the White House in recent months. The increase in political violence, now an increased cost for taxpayers. Tony?
Ed, thank you very much. We turn now to what is developing into a major health story this summer. Nearly 7,000 people in 34 states now reporting, shall we say, unpleasant symptoms tied to a parasitic illness that so far has no official cause. Our Carter Evans now with what's suspected of being behind the outbreak and how you can stay safe.
Pay close attention on your next trip to the produce aisle. The CDC is looking into several items potentially contaminated with the Cyclospora parasite that causes severe stomach sickness. Today, CDC doctors pointed to an alarming increase in illnesses in a special conference call.
Routine stool tests don't always screen for this parasite. You may need to specifically request testing for Cyclospora.
Since May 1st, the CDC's confirmed 1,645 cases of cyclosporiasis in 34 states. More than 5,100 additional reports still need to be investigated, and they say there could be a link between cases in Ohio, West Virginia, Kentucky, and Michigan, which has the most cases.
Do you have any idea what this outbreak is linked to?
From 1,000 interviews, one of the signals that keeps coming up is lettuce and salad greens.
Fast food giant Taco Bell has voluntarily removed some ingredients from select stores, but the CDC says there's no direct link.
Some doctors are recommending that you avoid bagged lettuce altogether. Instead, you should opt, they say, for a whole head of lettuce and peel off the first 3 layers and then wash the remaining leaves individually. When it comes to fruits and vegetables, they say you should scrub them with a brush under running water, but they say the safest option is to cook your produce to at least 158 degrees.
The incubation can be a week or even 2 weeks. That lag time does make the investigation a little bit harder to do.
Who remembers what they ate 2 weeks ago?
Exactly.
The Washington Post is now reporting that federal and state officials are investigating whether or not certain Taco Bell restaurants played a role in the outbreak. When asked about it today, the CDC would not answer the question directly. Tony?
Carter, thank you very much. Retired Captain Chesley Sullenberger, better known as Sully, famous for that miracle on the Hudson landing, says he's in the early stages of Alzheimer's disease. He's 75 and says he's been having difficulty remembering things like names and that he hasn't been sleeping well. He's decided to face it all out in the open, hoping it's a way to encourage the millions of other families dealing with this very same disease. He was an aviation and safety analyst for us here at CBS News, and we wish him clear skies and tailwinds, as they say. Spain is moving on to the World Cup final after stunning France on France's most patriotic national holiday, no less. Nicole Valdez is in Atlanta with a recap.
In a dominant performance, Spain defeated World Cup favorites France 2-0. The Spanish controlling the play, keeping French stars like Kylian Mbappe away from the ball, and in the end, pure joy on the pitch for Spain amid heartbreak for the French. Madrid erupted in cheers and celebration, Spain's men making it to the final for the first time since 2010, when they won their only World Cup. Now all eyes turn to Atlanta, where England and its superstar tandem of Harry Kane and Jude Bellingham prepare to face Lionel Messi and Argentina.
It's amazing that England are here to play as well, so yeah, it's just so exciting.
At this fan fest in Atlanta, passionate fans can't wait to see if their team makes it all the way.
What does it feel like to see them in the semifinals and competing for a chance to be back-to-back champions?
Tomorrow is one in a life opportunity.
The feeling's mutual in this World Cup for those watching at the stadium and all across the country.
And what has it been like for you as a fan?
To see the World Cup come to my backyard basically has been surreal.
And here in Atlanta, where England will take on Argentina tomorrow, police are gearing up for potential clashes off the pitch with additional personnel and resources. Tony?
It's a huge rivalry. Nicole, thank you very much. Big day in France today. Despite that big loss in the World Cup, the country marked Bastille Day, a celebration of the French Revolution, with a flyover in Paris, a massive parade, and something completely new. Ukrainian soldiers marching in the streets with President Zelensky and Macron sharing a big hug. Up next, the good stuff, what a bride did to honor her grandmother. We're back with the good stuff, a very special wedding dress edition. This is the late Patricia Bartlett on her wedding day back in 1966, the start of a nearly 60-year marriage, 3 beautiful kids, grandkids too, including an eldest granddaughter named Catherine. They were always close. And Catherine had long had an idea to wear her grandmother's dress for her own wedding one day, but would it still fit?
Oh, boy.
Last year, she visited her grandparents in Pennsylvania and got the chance to find out. It fit so perfectly, even Grandpa was wiping away tears. We caught you.
And it just felt meant to be. There was no other dress that was for me to wear down the aisle than her dress.
So this is Catherine Michelle Bartlett at her wedding ceremony this month, wearing the dress just as her grandmother left it, without even dry cleaning it, not even patching up a tiny tear under the arm. I love the embrace of the dress as is. Where did that come from?
Why would I fix perfection? It was perfect. So if you're trying on a dress and your mom's dress and you want to chop it up, just think twice, because maybe your daughter wants to wear it as is.
While Patricia passed away before the wedding, Catherine thinks she's up in heaven just loving all this attention, as millions have seen the video and reacted to their story. And the dress itself is back in the old house, Catherine says. It's boxed up with a note that now lists 2 wedding dates, and there's plenty of room for more. That's another day in America. I'm Tony DeCoppel. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Good night.